welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Devin, and on this channel we talk about all things plants. And in today's video I wanted to do kind of a little sit down, chat with me and repot, because it is springtime and I have so much plant maintenance to do, so I wanted to go ahead and do it. So I have a few plants that I am going to repot and combine together in some pots and size up, and also add in a couple cuttings as well. So there's going to be a little bit of variety of why I'm repotting and kind of give you different suggestions or different methods to repot. Let's dig in. But before we get into this video, I would love it if you would subscribe and join our little planty family. I am almost at a year of being on YouTube, which is wild, and my goal is to get to 1,000 subscribers in a year, and I'm almost there, so I would love to reach that goal, and I love to have you guys a part of this plant journey. I really appreciate everybody that watches my videos and comments below. It really inspires me to keep making videos, because sometimes I can kind of get in a little rut of wanting to make videos, but with your guys' support it really pushes me to be creative and create videos. So with all that being said, let's just go ahead and get on into repotting. So the first plant I'm actually going to repot is I'm going to combine my Brazil philodendrons together. This is in a smaller pot, and these are all cuttings, and I repotted them like years ago. In the soil, there's not a lot of soil left in it. So, and it's not too badly root bound, but since the soil, it was like only sitting on top of the soil. Actually, I mean, the roots are pretty dang long. So it's sitting in this little 4-inch pot. And I'm gonna have a box over here to dump all of my old soil out, and I have my bucket of new soil. And the soil combination that I've been using, I usually put in regular potting soil, perlite, orchid bark, and I've been putting a little bit of peat moss depending on the plant, just a little bit to retain a little bit of moisture in certain plants, and then also adding in a sprinkle of worm castings on top of the soil. And oh, I can't forget this, mosquito bits. So I started last year because I had a really bad infestation of gnats, which are awful. And I was doing a little bit of research, and I came across people saying that if you sprinkle mosquito bits into your soil as you water, like the larvae and stuff like that will eat the mosquito bits and die. So it won't necessarily kill the ones that are flying around, but it will kill all the ones that are living in your soil that we don't see that will bloom eventually. So I do mix this in with all of my soil. You can mix it in, or last year I think, realized it later, I just sprinkled on top of the soil and kind of a little bit of tossed it in and been doing that. So I'm going to be putting that in there. So this Brazil philodendron I got from, look at this, it's just crumbling apart. It needed to be watered, but I was waiting to water it till I repotted it. So I am going to be thoroughly watering all of my plants that I repot today. We've actually been having a lot of excuse me, soil got into my mouth. We've been having a lot of storms here in Georgia, and we're actually having one right now. That's why it's kind of a little bit darker. So we have buckets outside, and I just grabbed a big jug of rainwater. So I've been kind of into doing that with all the storms recently. I'm just trying to water my plants with rainwater just to kind of get all the nutrients and stuff like that all the outside plants get. And also I will be fertilizing them as well. So I use a fish emulsion fertilizer, which you could just combine with your water, and it's organic. So I just pour it into the jug of water that I water my plants with, shake it up, and every time I water I fertilize it. So it's pretty gentle. So I'm actually just going to oh my god, the dust. That was really dry, and it was really full of perlite. So what I'm learning and finding out is that perlite comes up to the surface if you water, especially if you top water. It eventually just all rises up. So I think moving forward I might use pumice instead of perlite, but I had perlite on hand, so that's what I'm using today. So I'm going to be, I have my bucket down here. Okay. So I put a little bit on the bottom. My goodness. Vining plants are always harder to repot because, especially if they're long, it's just, there's a lot going on. Take your time and be gentle with it. Okay. I didn't realize these roots are so long, which is a good thing. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. So I think this one has like a weird like kink to it. And I also noticed like the leaves were starting to get smaller and smaller. It just means that it's not getting as much light as it needs. So I think in the new spot, it will get better light. So I asked over on Instagram for, you know, if you guys had any questions or just kind of, you know, sit down and repot with me. And so one of the questions I got was, how many houseplants do I have? And that is a good question because I haven't done an official count since last year. And I think last year I had like 112 or something like that plants. And I know my collection has definitely grown. So I'll be curious. I didn't get a chance to count all of them. I'm actually going to be doing a houseplant tour coming up just for the springtime. And also I wanted to do the tour and then I have the itch to like rearrange and do some different designs with my plants coming up. So I'm not sure if I want to do the tour before or after I like rearrange and redecorate with some of my plants. Just because I tend to like to use my plants as decoration. So let me know if you guys would rather see like a plant tour before I do that or after. I might just do it before just so it might take me longer to like redesign stuff. So I would say I definitely have like over 100 plants for sure. So I'm just adding in some, I forgot to mix it in with the soil, but adding in some mosquito bits, just some of my water. And then I do, like I said, I've been using worm castings. And this is also another great like organic fertilizer too. So every time you water, it kind of just like goes down into the soil. I bottom water every once in a while, like on my smaller plants, especially if they're like super thirsty, but I'm definitely more of a top waterer. So this is a great, especially if you forget to fertilize, a great option for getting nutrients to your plants. So I think this one is good to go. I like that. So this one goes in my bathroom, so it goes up against the wall. So I like that it has a trail. I might even like trim this back a little bit to start another propagation and eventually put it back in. We'll see how it looks hanging on the wall. Okay, so the next one I'm going to repot is this Syngonium, and it's grown like crazy. It usually sits like right back here, and I stocked it up like beginning of winter this year because they are climbing plants, and it like took off. As you can see, it's like outgrown the moss pole, so I'm not really sure. I didn't think I was going to repot this one today, so I didn't get another pole. I thought I was going to upsize it, but I think it needs to because of the stability for it. But if you don't have, like, if you have moss poles like this and you need to tie it, like twine's good too, but I found this like plant Velcro. I'll link it in the description box below. It's really good, and you can like, I didn't realize it was in front of my face. You can reuse it, so it's not like not wasteful at all. and it's really gentle. Like look at these aerial roots, it's just, so I'm being really careful. So the root system is like not super crazy. Like one did start coming out the bottom a little bit, so that's why I did decide to repot it. And I don't know, since it normally goes behind me and I really like the spot that it is in, I need another pole, basically. But it's gonna get taller than the shelf. So it's already reaching all the way up to the grow light. So I gotta figure out what I wanna do if I wanna add another pole. I don't really wanna chop it back. So here we have, like, the root system it's a healthy root system. It's not like super big. So I'm wondering if this size is too big, like this size is too big to pot up. I might actually just need to go up this size. So let me clean this out actually. Okay, so yeah, I'd rather go up to this size. I don't know, that's too big. Oh, okay. So I'm gonna add a little bit of soil on the bottom. I guess I could wrap it all the way around. Okay, indecisive today. God, the soil is getting to me. The last one was so dusty and old. I'm gonna go as much as I can this way. Ah. Alright, so then another question that I was asked is, sorry, I'm trying to be gentle with all of these. There we go. Stems are so long. Another question I got asked is, have I killed any plants? Let me put to the side a little bit. And yes, definitely have killed plants before. I think there's like a big, like, I don't want to say misconception that, we all know that like Instagram is not like 100% real life all the time. And you know, we see everybody's beautiful collections, and of course it's always curated to see everybody's like perfect plant collections. This is gonna be hard. Okay, I didn't think this through. So yeah, like simple answer is yes, I've definitely killed plants. There's a few in my collection right now. I'll insert some footage of some plants that are like really struggling. And it's some plants that like I've had really good luck with in, like before, but then sometimes you just, I don't know, luck runs out, I guess, but yeah, I definitely have struggled with killing plants. And I would say like, don't get too upset about it if you do kill a plant. I know that it could kind of make you feel like a failure, and especially like what I was saying with like Instagram and stuff like that. It's like we all show like all of our favorite plants and all the ones that are thriving, but like a lot of people don't show the ones that are just not doing so good, or something happened, or they got root rot. And even the most expert plant people deal with these problems. So that's what I've kind of learned over the years, is that, you know, it's okay, some of them will die. And I always figure like it's like a lesson to learn, or like figuring out, be like, hey, like, why did it die? What can I do differently? Like, what was I not giving it? Was I neglecting it? Was I caring for it too much? So, and I've also had like plants in my collection that were like on the verge of dying, and I kind of figured out like the problem, and a lot of them have been either like really inconsistent watering or root rot. So yeah, and there's ones that you can revive, or you can always buy a new plant. And that, I guess that's another reason that I don't have like super expensive plants in my collection, because I guess I have a hard time, like, what if I kill a plant that I spent a lot of money on? And I'm not like shaming anybody for spending money on a plant or anything like that. Like, do what you want with your money. I think for me, I would be really stressed out if I bought a really expensive plant and it died. So if I were to buy a really expensive plant, I think I would buy a plant that I'm really comfortable taking care of. This is now centered better, and it's a little bit more stable. I have this, okay, so sorry guys, I'm like all over the place today. It's Sunday, and we thought this like giant storm was gonna come through, and it still might. And my whole like week has been off. So this was like a group of propagation. So as you can see, It's got like your jade pothos, it's got your golden pothos, and it's got your marble queen. And this sits in my son's room actually. And yeah, it was just like a group of cuttings that I kind of was just like, I'm gonna throw them all together because pothos, you can do that. The soil is like really has a lot of perlite in it, and it's just very dry. So it doesn't necessarily need to be like potted up. I'm going to take off this little leaf. I don't know if anybody else gets like these really weird tiny curly leaves sometimes that you think it's gonna start growing and they never grow. So I have more like random pothos cuttings. Like I have this one, it has a really long root system. I think it's just a jade. And then I also have, I think it's part of a golden pothos too. So pothos are really easy to propagate. You just cut above the node and stick it in water. And another fun fact that I've learned, I forget who told me, I think it was someone had commented on one of my videos, if you put pothos cuttings in other propagations, because I propagate with water a lot, that it helps it root faster. Again, just filling up the bottom. And I have a video, it's actually like my first video, so it'd be funny to watch. I'll put like a clip of it up here. My first video that I ever made that was like tips for repotting and stuff like that. So if you want more like details of why and how you should repot, I would, you know, link it up in the cards. I thought it was funny because I didn't realize that I had like such a southern accent, because I always thought that I was pretty neutral, but it's just fun to go watch back and to see how if you just keep trying at something, then you will eventually get better and more comfortable about it. It's like random Devin thoughts today. Okay. So another question that I got that I thought was a really good one, and I was thinking about it a lot last night, and they asked if I would ever do one of those IKEA greenhouses that a lot of people have been doing recently. And the like second part of the question was like, what would I put in it? And I've thought about it. I think I said this earlier, like a lot of my plants are part of my decor, so that I'm very intentional of where I put them and how I style them and decorate them. So as of right now, I don't really have a place to put an IKEA greenhouse in my house that wouldn't like take up, I guess I don't really have a spot in my mind right now where I would put one without like overcrowding my house and just kind of like not having it part of my decor. But we are kind of like in the process of like separating our offices. So whenever my husband moves out of that office into his own, I am going to do a complete like redesign and redo of that room. And I think a lot of my plant collection is gonna go up there. So I would say that would be a good spot to have it. So that's the answer to the first part of this question. So I guess the second part of that question would be, I think I would start like getting, I know I literally just said that I wouldn't spend money on expensive plants, but I think that would give me like a better comfort level of experimenting with more difficult plants like alocasias, or like I feel like calatheas would be really good in something like that, because you're giving them like the prime, you know, with the humidity and the grow lights, you know, it's a greenhouse, so you're giving them like their perfect conditions. So I think getting more, I'm gonna say fancy plants, but there's nothing wrong with basic plants, I have a lot of them. But I think I would experiment a little bit more with, I think definitely alocasias. I think I would experiment with those, and also a little bit more rare plants. I think I would have a better comfort level of having them in a greenhouse and really controlling their environment a lot better than throughout my house. All right, so the last plant that I'm gonna do is, again, combining two plants together. So this one is in a massive pot. So I potted it up to, I think it's a 10-inch or 8-inch pot, because this used to be really big and like vining down. So I thought it needed to be potted back up, and then it got mealybugs. I had to treat it twice, and I ended up cutting off a lot of the longer growth just because like pests can really damage your plant. And so I've lost like half of this plant. So it's in a way too big pot of what it needs to be, and And then this one has been sitting in the same pot for a while, for a little bit over a year, and it's on a wall hanging, like up my stairs I have 3 pothos that are hanging. That's one of the plant collections that I think I'm going to combine and move to my kitchen shelves. I really want like a huge draping effect, and during, it's going to sound really backwards, but during the summer, that hallway up the stairs gets darker. Because I live in Georgia and we have a million trees. So in the wintertime, no leaves on the trees, so the sun shines in a lot brighter. And up the stairs, there is the only south facing window in my house. So it gets great light in the winter. And I also want to do something else with that stairwell, just like home decor based wise. So I'm going to combine these 2 plants together, and I'm going to check out the roots to see if it needs to go back in this big pot. But I do have a 8-inch pot somewhere that I was... So I washed, oh my god, I almost missed the seat. Washed this out, and it's a not a golden, a marble queen pothos. I'm out of breath because I've been talking a lot. So this potting mix that's in it, I don't have it right now, but I've been using the De La Tanks mix. I'll link in the description box below, and for those of you who don't know, she is a pretty well-known plant YouTuber. So definitely check out her channel. I'll link it down below too. But she has her own soil mix with a company. And it's very, I like it. You can buy it on Amazon, and it's really good soil. I just didn't have any more in hand, so I'm going to try to use as much of this soil and the soil mixture that I have to combine the 2. I'm going to dump this because it's been in there a while. So that's pretty solid root system. So fun fact about this plant is that it is a plant for my wedding. So I got married a couple years ago, and like part of my decor was using my plants, and it actually rained on our wedding day, so a lot of the plants just got like soaked and waterlogged. I have another one that I chopped the top off of it. It's a Janet Craig Christina, and it just got mealybugs. But yeah, so that plant was not looking, well, this plant was not looking that good, but I repotted it a while ago, and now it's thriving. So it's kind of like a sentimental plant because we had it at our wedding day. And guys, there's a mushroom growing out of the drainage holes. Nice. Mushrooms don't hurt your plants. They're just fungus. It just means that there's like extra moisture. So don't freak out if you have mushrooms. Oh, I didn't realize there was a whole other part of that plant in there. So yeah, I think I mentioned in another video that cinnamon is a really good like defungus thing. If you see like fungus or mold growing in your plant, sprinkling some cinnamon on it kills it. Yeah, this root system's a lot smaller than the other one, and it has a lot of like dead roots on it. Womp womp. So I'm just kind of gently pulling some of the rotted roots off. I kind of find if you just like comb over it a little bit, they kind of just fall off. And the thing about pothos too is that they don't mind being a little root bound. So I guess that's another like good point, is that even like everybody makes mistakes on plants. Like I shouldn't have put this in a bigger pot. I thought initially the roots looked like they were really wound around, but like it really didn't need it to be in a bigger pot. Okay, so I'm gonna put this with this and this. So now it's gonna become like 3 times as big. Okay, so back to questions, which is another good one. I was thinking about this right before this video too. They asked, what is my favorite plant in my collection and what is my least favorite plant in my collection? That's a good question, because like I feel like my favorites vary depending on a lot of things. So I would say my favorite plant in my collection right now is actually my bird of paradise that is sitting behind me. She actually sprouted 2 new leaves in the past like 2 months, which is awesome because I've had her since last year, And she's like, bird of paradise, I always thought, since like they're huge and like, you know, very tropical, I always had this in my mind that they were like really hard to take care of, and like, so I always thought like I didn't have like a bright enough light, because they do require a lot of light. She's been sitting under at the southwest facing window upstairs, and then she also has assistance with grow lights, so I think she really enjoyed that. Yeah, it was like one of those plants that I thought was like gonna be really difficult to have in my collection, and I kind of, I don't want to say neglected her for a while, but I just kind of let her be, because it was one of those that like, we'll just see how this goes. She just seemed intimidating to me for some reason, but she has beautiful foliage. She fills the room really nicely, and like really is like a statement plant. So, and then she put out like 2 new leaves. I think this is the big one right there, and she just, I think it's this one, the one that's like completely thriving. But yeah, she really took off this year, and I think she might need to be repotted, but I'm a little scared to repot her. She's like pushing out of her nursery pot. But I also just recently got a humidifier, and I'll link it down below. I got it on Amazon. It's kind of small, but you can set it to a certain like percentage of humidity, so which is nice because you can get like the right amount of humidity. So I think I set it to like 65 or something like that, and it kicks on and off depending on if it needs it or not. And I just stuck my Stromanthe up there too, because that was one of those plants that I was kind of like, I might get rid of in my collection. But that seems to be, they seem to really like it, and I saw new growth on my Stromanthe, which is cool. So yeah, I would say she's one of my favorite in my collection. And then I would say my least favorite in my collection right now, I'm just gonna, I'll put a better picture of it, as my like first Stromanthe Triastar. I've recently repotted and moved her over here, but she just is not doing well. Her leaves, I've had to cut a lot of leaves off, and she's just looking really sad. And I just don't think I had the right environment for her right now, or just didn't get a healthy plant in general. She's one of those ones that I kind of neglected as well. But yeah, I would say she's my least favorite in my collection right now. And I guess another least favorite in my collection is just, you know, the same, or kind of like all the ones that are dying, but I used to really love my Fittonia, the green one, and I recently like potted a few of them up together, and it died. The green part, and the other one is like hanging on by like 3 little stalks, I guess. It has one of those plants that was like really thriving for a long time, and I really liked it because you can tell when it needs water, it kind of deflates, and it's a very dramatic plant. But it just kind of just gave up, which kind of made me give up on it. I know that sounds really bad, but I had other things going on. But I would say that's probably my least favorite right now. I used to really like Fittonias. Like, I have a big one up there, but I think they're just too dramatic right now for me to really handle, and like requires a lot of my attention. And right now I just don't have a lot of attention to give. So I would say that's probably my least favorite. I don't think I will really continue to buy that plant for a while. Okay, so I forgot a piece. So, oops, I was gonna say this is done, but I forgot a piece. So I'm just gonna like dig out a little hole and try to feed her in there. Stay in there. Sorry. Well, she's in. Hopefully she stays. But I think this pot size is way better for her than that big one. She definitely has still room to expand, and now she's fuller. Alright guys, so that's all of the plants I'm going to repot today. I hope you enjoy this kind of more casual video of just sitting down and talking. I loved answering your guys' questions. It makes me feel like I'm sitting with a bunch of my friends and repotting together. It makes it a lot more enjoyable. So yeah, I will catch you guys in the next one. Happy repotting. Bye.